Itadori. You take it from here.
As long as you're happy, my dearest wish in life will have come true.
So it's been about a week now since the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen, and after sitting on it for like a while, similar to how I did to my my hero video like a few weeks ago, a few months back, where I waited a little bit for things to cool down, I want to give my thoughts on the series as an ending, and I gotta say, I don't like it, nor do I hate it. I thought it was alright. Could have been better. The conclusion to Sukuna pretty much comes full circle. Gojo pretty much comes full circle. You gotta understand one thing, that it doesn't really matter how Jujutsu Kaisen was gonna end. One way or another, people were gonna hate on it because the expectations to this series were off the roof, similar to how Attack on Titan had like a super, and I mean a super divisive ending. A lot of people hated it, a lot of people liked it. JJK was always gonna have this outcome. My Hero Academia was kind of different. People knew it was gonna end a certain way. But Jujutsu Kaisen, people were expecting so many things to happen. People were expecting, oh, they're setting up a part 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. But ultimately, with no announcement in the air for a sequel for Jujutsu Kaisen, and with people finally realizing, alright, so this is pretty much the ending for the series. And some people absolutely hate it, some people absolutely like it, but majority of people are kind of like, meh, it is what it is, to be honest. Like I mentioned, one way or another, this series was always gonna get hate. It was either gonna get hate or praise. Like, it doesn't really matter which way it was. But then there is that big majority that they are just kind of like, so that's it. Like, I kind of was expecting more things to happen. And I've been seeing this thing, how people were saying, oh, they left so many unanswered questions, blah blah blah. Well, sometimes a story doesn't really need everything answered. Sometimes it's good to leave it for your own interpretation. So what happened to Geto? What happened to Kenjaku? What happened to Gojo's funeral? Blah blah blah. Why did they introduce a little side mission towards the very end of the few chapters? Why would they talk about other clans? Blah blah blah. Sometimes you don't really need set up for a sequel. Sometimes things can be left up to interpretation, and that's why this ending, I mean, it's kind of mad about it. Like, I don't like it, nor do I hate it. I thought it was alright. Like, it could have been better. A lot of things could have been done differently. That's the best way to explain this series. But as a series itself, I think Jujutsu Kaisen is one of those series that is kind of one of a kind. It's something that is very monumental. Like, the impact that the series had on people in general and as a community, like, I haven't really seen a series have this much of an impact on anime and as like society as a whole, and like pretty much forever now. Not since Dragon Ball, to be honest, not since Attack on Titan. Yeah, I do think there's been a bunch of animes that have come out in the past few years that have gained monumental status, but Jujutsu Kaisen, you gotta understand, this series broke records. This series came out, at least the anime wise, it came out when the pandemic was at its highest, when people were locked in their homes, when people essentially had nothing to do, and when they heard about Jujutsu Kaisen, the show, they instantly fell in love with it. Like, I remember watching a video way back, like 2019, early 2018, right when the series was just picking off. I can't remember which YouTuber it was. It was this one guy who was saying, when Jujutsu Kaisen gets animated, it's gonna be one of the biggest things ever. The power system is great. The characters are, for the most part, pretty consistent. This was in the early days. This was right when the Shibuya arc was happening, and right when the anime was actually about to start, if I remember correctly. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched that video. I don't remember which YouTuber I watched, but he called it that the series was going to be monumental, but no one could have ever expected that the series would have been as big as it is. Now, the rise and the rise and momentum of Jujutsu Kaisen honestly needs to be studied, because no other series ever has had this much impact with artists, with celebrities, because you gotta understand, Olympians, presidents, like head of world leaders were like referencing Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, this was one of the biggest shows literally ever for the past 4 years. This was one of the best series. Yeah, you can hate it, yeah, you can dislike it, but you gotta admit, this series had a monumental impact, not just on the anime community, but as like society as a whole, because a lot of people were referencing this. This is one of those series. This is probably a series that became everyone's favorite anime. This is a series that most people would honestly consider their first anime, because this happened at the peak of the pandemic era, when things were kind of rocky, when the future was unsure what was going to happen. So to see something like this have such an impact over the past few years has been such an incredible ride. To be part of a community, to be part of a series where you never know what's going to happen, you never know the power dynamics, you never know what's going to happen next. The author's not afraid to cut off some of your favorite characters. He just does what he wants. And yeah, some people are going to hate it, but I think Gege had like the balls to do what they had to do, because I don't think any other writer could have done what he did. He pretty much made everything unpredictable. You know what the great thing about this series is he did not give in to fan service and bring Gojo back. Yeah, sure, he kind of brought him back, but not really. He's gone. People don't really care about him. Like, in this story wise, Gojo was pretty much a weapon, and he was viewed as a weapon from birth all the way to the very end. The only person who saw him truly as human was Yuji Itadori, because he's pretty much just like him. It's like, hey, I know you were born a certain way, but I want you and everyone else to carry on my legacy. Yeah, I have dreams of my own, but sadly, I'll never be able to pursue those dreams pretty much ever again, because I'm gone. Even though I'm gone, at least I'll have someone to remember me. And that's when you just like, yeah, I'll carry on your legacy. I will do as you promised. I'll continue living on your dream within me, within everyone else, to build a better society for Jujutsu. And I think Gojo had pretty much a good conclusion. Some people may disagree, some people may hate it, but personally, I do like the route that they went, because Gojo was seen as a weapon, ultimately died as a weapon, not as a hero, not as a selfless person, but ultimately as a weapon, what he was made to be from beginning to end. Now, Sukuna, on the other hand, I think his arc was pretty much written perfectly. He was straight evil from beginning to the end, and when he lost, he ultimately admitted to Mahito, like when he met him towards the end of the afterlife, he's like, yeah, I lost to Yuji fair and square. I'm not gonna complain, I'm not gonna whine like some baby. I lost fair and square, but if there is another life, maybe I would like to be someone different. Maybe I would like to be a better person. But who knows? I may be the strongest, but I'm not the strongest anymore. That title belongs to Yuji. And I really like that conclusion, how it pretty much came full circle. His ideology of only the strongest can survive, and once someone takes him off the top of the food chain, it's just pretty much like, I give in, I'm defeated, it is what it is, man. As far as the other characters, I really do wish we had some like introduction to Nobara, how she survived, what she's been doing. I mean, yeah, they talked about it a little bit, but I really wish they built up her character, and Sylvia's doing like an ass pull, just bring her back out of nowhere. As far as Megumi, I was kind of hoping he would low-key die after like being taken over Sukuna's body. You think he would have some trauma or whatever, but not really. Pretty much all the people who were involved in the battle, the final battle, survived for the majority of it. I know people were complaining about the Hikari versus Urame fight, but hey, I do got a feeling that some of this stuff was actually done on purpose so the anime could actually expand on it, because you got to think about it like this. Gege Agutami was like on a list, he was like on a time frame. When writing manga, it's kind of hard to fit in so much stuff, so I do feel like he left certain things out just for the sake of the anime whenever it actually adapts it, to actually make it a bit better. But that's just my theory, to be honest. But yeah, there's a little bit things that were left unanswered, some things that could have been written a lot better, open-ended. The one thing that actually confused me in Jujutsu Kaisen is the weird military arc during the Culling Games when America gets brought in and fights curses. I'm like, that's kind of random. Like, that kind of threw me off a little bit. But it's cool seeing like non-sorcerers versus like curses. That was pretty interesting, what a gun does to non-sorcerers. And yeah, they can pretty much stop him, but that plot pretty much went nowhere. But I thought it was cool regardless. But yeah, pretty much all the other characters, they have like a major impact. I just do wish like he expanded on it. Yes, a little bit more, but like I said earlier, not everything really needs an explanation. It's pretty much all up to interpretation. But given how this series is, this is a series, it's pretty much like a shock value. Like, things happen so very quickly. You gotta think about it. In the span of the story-wise, pretty much all this takes place within less than a year, within a few months. Like, Yuji goes to school, he gets taken over by Sukuna, and everything else that could possibly happens. Like, that's insane. You got to think about it like from the character's perspective. Oh shit, in a few months everything went from bad to like pretty much cataclysmic proportions. But overall, I do think Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole is pretty great. It doesn't have its flaws like any other series. Could it have been better? Absolutely, but I'm pretty sure due to time constraints and all that, you know, it had its issues, it had its ups and downs. But if you're one of those people switching up, oh, I hated Jujutsu Kaisen, this shit sucks. No, trust me, so many people were there every time the leaks would happen. I've never seen a series with as much hype on leaks alone. Like, this series blew up. It did numbers pretty much everywhere, because you would see leaks everywhere. You would see whole accounts dedicated to this. You would see whole fan animations dedicated to this series. It's insane, like I said, the popularity, the monumental status of Jujutsu Kaisen, because it's great. Like, it is great. Whether you want to admit it, whether you don't want to admit it, it is a fun series. With that being said, that's just pretty much my thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole and the ending. Like I said, I don't hate it, nor do I like it. It's alright. Be honest, could have been way better. But as a conclusion to Sukuna's character, I think it pretty much came full swing. Gojo's character, some people may hate it. I like it because it pretty much wrapped it up. Full swing. Born as a weapon, died as a weapon. And Yuji is pretty much the one above all. He's the one left standing. He left both of them behind. I think that's a pretty fitting conclusion to his character as far as the other characters. But overall, I do like this series. Is it one of my favorites? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of shonen a whole lot, but this is one of those series that I really enjoyed reading through and through. I read the series for pretty much from the start, like I said. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on the conclusion on Jujutsu Kaisen. What did you guys think about it? Do you guys agree with my like stuff I talked about? Do you not? Do you hate the ending? Anyways, I'll catch you guys on my next one. So yeah.